Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Charles Derrick.
This is J-Rob.
And this is Bringing the Noise. Well, J-Rob, I want you to picture something. It was 2019, and I just confirmed with him there a while ago, and I couldn't remember because COVID's got me all messed up on the years. But and it's crazy. It was that specific episode on season 17 of The Voice. It was me, my wife, and her mother here at the house. In the back room back here watching The Voice. And I remember Zach singing Old Red and Blake Shelton, and he was on the Blake team and all that. And I remember watching that, and it was just like, this is wild, man. And I don't know if I do know. When you get on big time television, for some reason, most people think you've made it. And in some ways, no matter what happens to you after that, you did make it. You made it into something that nobody else is ever going to be able to say they did on major network television. We're not talking about, the little affiliate down here, what I'm trying to think.
Morning news.
Yeah, we ain't talking about WCBI down here or WTVA or whatever the ones in Jackson are. This is a different ball game, and you're on there, and a major country superstar is endorsing you like that and talking about your the guy and all this kind of stuff. That's major. And that makes you larger than life, no matter what you do from then on. And I'm sure that even now his shows around here, an acoustic or whatever it may be, there's still people that come up to him and talk about that feeling of watching him on major network television, just like we did here, So this guy from The Voice. There's a lot of things you don't know about this guy that you're going to find out. And it's going to be really, really interesting because just like in all of our careers, he's done the bands around here. Okay. And he's done a lot of the road work too. Okay. He didn't just show up on TV one day. And matter of fact, he didn't touch it and get really going on the guitar until he was 20 years old. And a lot of people didn't know that. I didn't know that. So he's got a beautiful wife, Taylor. He's got is she 15 months, you said?
Yeah, 15 months.
15-month-old daughter, Avery. We got Zach Bridges on the show.
Well, I caught my wife with another man, and it cost me 99. On a prison farm in Georgia, close to the Florida line. Well, I've been here for 2 long years. I finally made the ward my friend. And so he sentenced me to a life of ease, taking care of old Red. And the warden sang, come on somebody, why don't you run? Old Red's itching to have a little fun. Get my lantern, get my gun, it'll have you treated for the party and fun. The sun goes down a little later this time of year. Everybody knows the party don't stop till the cops are here. We got southern belles and redneck boys making all kind of noise, yeah. That's how it goes down around here. That's how it goes down around here. hit the road, put it in the water at the trading post. Grab some beer, a cooler of ice, gonna hold that moonshine up too. She's the kind of girl that ain't afraid of much, the kind to fill a wine glass all the way up. She ain't scared to catch a little buzz or dance to a song when I turn it up. She gave her heart away one time, but she don't know what she's doing to mine. Oh Lord, she ain't afraid of much, but she's scared of a little love.
What's going on, man?
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah,
Sir,
dude.
pleasure to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. Same to you.
So most of the time we do start at the beginning, but I want to keep going with this, the voice thing, and let's get it out of the way, because I know we
Yeah.
got to go real deep into all that.
Yeah.
And I think that can help light the firework here. So how did that happen? And once we set that, we'll go back to the very beginning. You know.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So
So, well, I've, been playing around town. At this point, 6 or 7 years, I've been playing acoustic gigs, and I had a little acoustic band going, a little 4-piece acoustic band. And I, social media is, started becoming a big thing. So I'd get on social media and Instagram, Facebook, start posting videos, singing, and I just randomly got a message one day. This is after years, the first couple of years, I probably shouldn't even have been trying to post videos or anything. And then, you get the typical comments, "You sound good, man. You sound good." And it's usually like your best friend or your mom or somebody.
yeah,
In there.
But
yeah. Hey, thanks, Mom.
but it had been a few years, and I was getting a little confident, and I listen back to my videos, think I sound pretty good. So I that's kind of where I'm at this time. Well, I get a Instagram message from, I don't even remember the girl's name now, but she said, "Hey, I'm such and such. I work for blah 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 casting, and we cast for The Voice, and we want to offer you a audition."
Oh wow.
I'm thinking,
And
I'm
when
thinking-
was this?
this was probably like December of 18.
Gotcha.
So it was
Yeah.
totally unsolicited. Like you weren't reaching out to them to try.
No, I thought it was a scammer, or
Sure.
somebody trying to get my money to get an audition, and then
Sure.
it turned out
Right.
to be,
Yeah.
But I Googled the lady, and it turns out, that's who it was. And then I got more official emails, down the road. And so, I told my wife about it. And let's go back just a little bit. My wife had created it, which she was my girlfriend at the time. She had created an audition account, a voice audition account. So I'm thinking that maybe, I don't know if they scroll through there and look at names and
Kind of put you on the radar somewhat.
just maybe check it out real quick to see if it's hitting on anything, or
But still, man, that's pretty, must have been pretty impressive.
yeah. I
So-
mean, and she could have just randomly been sitting on the couch one night at home and like, "Oh, well, maybe he should get or maybe he should go audition or something."
I'm sure it was with merit. They didn't just, you had to sound good. They wouldn't just scrolling and randomly picking folks. I don't think.
Well, that's what I like to think. So anyways, I got invited to, I think they sent me out a list of several places, said show up here. And it wasn't, I thought it was going to be the go wait in line all day with 1,000 other people.
Sure.
But it's like, no, it's, you just pick a time slot that you can come in a city that you can come. So I picked at like 9:30 in Nashville on I think it was like a Tuesday or something. So I went and stayed with my buddy and did all that. And, the more I went through the process, I kept, usually if they don't want you, you'll sing, and then they'll be like, "Okay, well, come back next year." Well, they said, "All right, well, go sit out in the hall and we're going to do a little interview." So I'm like, okay, that must be a good thing. And so then after you do it's like a little 5 or 10 minute interview, and they let you go, and they say, we'll call you. So I'm like, I won't ever hear back from them. So I think about April, a couple months later, I get a phone call from I wish I could remember the city. It was some city out in California. Hold on one second. I get a phone call from some city out in California, didn't recognize it. So I didn't answer it. And then the guy left a voicemail and said, hey, call me back. I got some good news for you. I was like, okay. So I called him back, and he said, hey, this is such and such with blah, blah, blah casting. And we want you to come out to LA for 4 days to come to an executive audition. So that was like, me and my wife were eating dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings, actually, when I got the call. She's like, you better go outside and call him back right now. So I did. And so I came back in and told her, and we were so tickled, excited. We didn't know what to think.
It's a celebration.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
The
hey,
wings are on me.
well, I'm going to be rich. No. But
That's phone calls. No, I don't know anybody that's got it. I mean, that know anybody.
yeah, it was, and it kept just getting crazier and crazier. So when they fly you out to LA, and they do, I mean, everything's paid for, of course, other than missing work, which I had to, use my vacation time or whatever. But so I flew out there, and there was hundreds and hundreds of other singers, just in and out all day. Some people go in and sing or whatever, and they'd be on a plane that night or whatever. So trying to remember how it.
All right. So, and I have a question.
Okay.
So and I've heard this about American Idol. I'm trying to remember who it was that told me, but so, I mean, obviously this is a TV show. So they want it to go where, and I remember them saying about American Idol, they knew some of the people that they wanted for the talent. Then they knew some people that they already wanted for the comic side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everybody else kind of fell into that, maybe there might be a diamond in the rough, but it's going to be a lot of just, we're going to tell you no. And people just waiting in line and coming in, spitting in and out. But they kind of already had an idea, because just like you saw the footage of some of them that were in the waiting out there, whatever, and they focused on somebody and went on ahead and found out their story and stuff. They kind of already knew some of the ones that they wanted to get through for the show,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But like you say, casting maybe had already, picked out some of the maybe better ones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously more that goes into it than singing, because there's a ton of undiscovered talent, and even talent that doesn't get chosen to go through just because they may not have a certain look, or they don't have a story or something like that. And I think
age,
voice,
maybe sometimes.
Yeah. And I think the voice is a little less dramatic maybe than American Idol.
I agree.
Mhm.
You can tell that just watching it.
Yeah, but they do still rely on that storyline to kind of,
There's
keep
still
up.
TV. There's still got to be some entertainment factor there
Sure.
besides the actual talent.
Exactly. And as much as you hate to say it, when you start meeting these people, and they start telling you, well, this happened to me when I was a kid, or this happened, or certain things, and you start to be like, okay, I see why maybe they, you're still here. I mean, not that they weren't talented, but you start to just think about that kind of stuff. Yeah. But
Did you cross your mind to have some kind of a elaborate story to give them?
Yeah.
Do you interview?
Yeah, it did. And that was one of my biggest concerns. I was like, well, my life is kind of boring. I mean, there's really nothing.
Might not be interesting enough.
At that time, I think I had just gotten married, so I mean, I didn't have a kid or nothing. Don't really have any traumatic events in my life that, I could just, this is what led me to music. What, blah, blah, blah happened. And then I started playing music and it saved my life or something.
Right.
I never had anything like that. So and I did have to kind of work with the producers a little bit to kind of not necessarily fabricate, but take what I gave them to piece it together to make it more appealing, I guess.
Be a little more dramatic
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
So, all right, first off, how long was that when you went to LA? How long were you there? Was it okay? So was that one long trip, or was that, did you go up and then you went back?
I became a frequent flyer. So
Okay.
the first time I went for that executive audition, I was there for 4 days. At the end of the 4 days, they bring a group of 30 or 40 people in a room. You're either all no's or you're all yeses. So you're in this room with these 30, 40 people, and you're trying to pick out the ones that you've heard sing, you know, by the pool or in the hotel room or in the lobby or somewhere, and be like, are they any good? Or like, am I fixing to get through? Or so
I mean, you're nervous as a cat coming into this. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to say that I wasn't just like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. But yeah, I was on edge and I was a little anxious about it. But I've always had the outlook as like, if it don't happen, it don't happen. Hell, I'm just glad to have gotten even invited to LA. You know, most people get turned away at the first audition. So
Sure. Enjoy the experience.
Yeah. A free 4-day trip to LA. So
what exactly did what did the 4 days entail? I mean, did you have to sing every day or just interviews?
A lot of it was interviews, meeting with the producers to talk about your story and what they're gonna talk about and that kind of thing. You do perform in front of all the NBC executive producers and stuff like that. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking performance outside of the blind performance, because you're in this it's like a big rehearsal hall basically, and there's all these people sitting over in the shadows with their laptops glowing on their face, and you don't know who's who or who's what. Or
all you know is they're picking you apart with every syllable you say.
So I go in there and I sing whatever song. I don't even remember what song I sang now. I could narrow it down to 3, but I don't
was it
remember
acoustic? Was it acoustic or was it a cappella or?
So the first one that I went to in Nashville, they make you have 3 songs prepared, and you sing one. You can do it however you want it: acoustic, piano, keyboard, whatever. Then you have to have 2 to do a track to with no instrument. So they kind of want to see how you move without your instrument, you know, on stage or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as, fast forward to the executive auditions, I want to say that they let you do 1 song with your instrument or to a track, whatever you wanted to do. And I don't remember. It was either Old Red or Dirt on My Boots by John Party, that was the video that I posted on Instagram that the lady had commented on.
Yeah.
So, I was like, well, if this lady thought it was good, then I need to do this song.
Keep rolling with what works.
Yeah, exactly. So fast forward after the audition, they put you in a room with, 30 or 40 other people, and you're all sitting there waiting on the, I can't remember her name. McNulty is the casting company. And she comes in, she's like the CEO or whatever of casting. And she comes in, she's a real like dramatic, like, just real all over the place. Just, hey guys,
over
I'm
the top.
glad to be here, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we're all like, all right, well, she's in a good mood, so this must be good. But I think that's just the way she is in general. But she ended up saying, you're all coming back for a blind audition. And we just, everybody just started going crazy. It was nuts.
How many was there at that time? How many talent people? I'm sorry, the contestants are trying to be contestants.
Well, they rotate you in, like 30 or 40 would fly in one day, and then you might, but they do it like on an offset schedule. 30 or 40 might fly in on Monday and stay till Thursday. Well, then 30 or 40 more might fly in Tuesday and stay till Friday. 30, 40 more might come in on Wednesday and leave
Wow.
Saturday. But
So
by the
you
time,
actually got to know some of these other people that there at that time. Y'all kind of
Yeah.
hung out and talked, and at the motel. You know.
Yeah, I met, there was a couple guys that I met from Nashville that were there. So I hung out with them for a good bit. And they ended up not, I don't know if they dropped out. They were a duo. And I don't know if they dropped out or just didn't make it. But I hung out with them a good bit. And then you really, once you come back. So I came home, that was in April. I came home and I didn't go back again until June. So I was home for, I guess, a little over a month. And you know, you can't tell anybody. You sign this contract that they're going to sue you for $5 million if you tell anything, blah, 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 spoil the show. I'm like, good luck. So, but I honored it. You know, I kept it a big secret, except for obviously like my family, close family and stuff like that. So,
as soon as he walks in the door, you ain't gonna believe what happened.
Well, you got to tell them, like, man, you sure are leaving town an awful lot.
Yeah,
weeks at a time. What's going on?
I could pull off the 4 days, you know, but when it came down, so when I came back in June, they said expect to be here for 4 weeks. And and the blind auditions will be at the end of that 4 weeks. So I was there for 4 weeks. And I think at this point they narrowed it down to about 120 or 140 people. So all 140 of us were there for that whole duration, all the way to the end of June. So,
and you can get close. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. So was it every day you were working during that time, or showing them what you could do, or was there some leisure time?
There was a lot of downtime just because there was so many people. They give you, you know, they want you to work with the vocal coach. It's about twice a week, maybe. You know, with all the people that they had to rotate through, it ended up being about twice a week. So you work with the vocal coach, then you're going to wardrobe to pick out your, you know, outfits, and
all that stuff still on their tab, I assume.
Yeah. Their wardrobe closet is as big as my house. I mean, they just got tons and tons. But I mean, and you find something you like, and they plan it out as if you're going to be on that show till the end. So you pick out 10 or 12 outfits. So, and it was, if you found something you liked and it didn't fit, they made it fit.
Yeah,
they had a tailor
there
on the spot, and she would just go back there and we'll have it for you. We'll have it ready for you tomorrow. Blah blah blah.
Wow, that's killer.
Really do feel like a star, even though there's 140 other people getting the same treatment. So
yeah, but still, man, that'd be unreal to be catered to that much.
It was. I mean, you're going to choreography. I mean, when I think choreography, I'm like dancing. I don't dance. Yeah. I play the guitar and I sing. Yeah. There shouldn't be much work needed to be done here. So this ought to be quick work. But you know, they really get down on it and like, yeah, why don't you move a little bit more?
It's a serious
trying
thing,
to turn you into a front man.
Yeah,
is what their front woman, you know, for the girls there.
Want people to watch that TV. If you're gonna be on TV, they want the people to watch that TV.
Yeah. So it's, you know, between all of that stuff, there was a lot of downtime, but kind of what we were getting around to is, all these other contestants we were spending a lot of time with. And so we were really getting to know other people that maybe not even similar to us, but just people that we gravitated towards. And so I have a group of 5 or 6 people that I stayed pretty close with the whole time, and I still keep up with them now. So it was really cool though to get to meet all walks of life from all over the country and just get real close. And
what part of LA were you guys in?
we stayed in a hotel in Burbank.
Uh-huh.
So it was about 45 minutes out of LA. Well, 10 minutes if there was no traffic, 45 minutes in traffic.
I'm assuming this is, it's beautiful out there. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I've never been out there at all.
The weather is amazing. You're talking about 75. There's hardly any humidity. You could wear a jacket at night, even in June. You just about have to have a long sleeve on out there at night, just because it's, with the wind cutting a little bit, it'd get a little chilly.
Just out of curiosity, I know you was talking about taking vacation days on that first trip. Did you spill the beans to work? Like, were they cool with you being gone for a month?
Yeah, I had to. So they actually came to film at my work. I guess it was after the blind auditions.
Uh-huh.
Well, so I guess I did. All right, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but yeah, I did have to let them know, because that was one concern. I went to my supervisor and I was like, I got this really big opportunity, and I might have to miss several weeks in a row. I was like, I just don't know what to do. I don't want to quit, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, man, we'll work with you. We'll do what we need to do. We'll talk to the director and see what we need to do. And so they worked with me, and we won't go into details, but I was able to, keep my insurance and all that, which was a big thing. Great. Because me and my wife were married, and she was on our insurance, and still I wasn't getting much of a paycheck, but it was just enough to cover the insurance. So,
well, that'd be a big concern, man, for somebody that like your situation. Some folks may have not been able to work something out with their job, may have had to quit for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then you don't know, how it's going to pan out. You go back home, you got to find something else to do, or, your position's filled. Your insurance is gone. A bunch of different things could be a bad situation.
Yeah. And they were real cool. They like, look, if it comes down to it and, you need to quit, we'll always hire you back if you ever, want to come back. But one thing my supervisor at the time told me, and it kind of has stuck with me, he's like, you don't want to risk a $40,000, $50,000 job for something that could lead you to, a lifetime career in, doing something you love. And that could also lead to a lot more money than this little $40,000, $50,000 job. So,
yeah, well, you was blessed to have have a guy like that over you that was
absolutely
understood, man, and not, be a jerk about it. And
yeah,
we got to keep this place running. We can't,
yeah.
I can't help what you're going to do.
Get your
out
dream.
There. Well, that guitar and that microphone.
Yeah.
Well, you only get one opportunity at things like, of that. No, that's a once in a lifetime thing. And
exactly. I think
if you wouldn't have did that, you would have lived with that regret the rest of your life.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
Oh, it'd have been haunting, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You have one hell of a story now to tell that perks up any eyebrows, of like, because most people don't have that kind of story,
Yeah. And turned out that the director of the hospital, once word got up to the top offices, the director of the hospital wanted to meet me and take a picture. Well, turns out he's a guitar player. He's a big Jimmy Buffett fan, and he's got all these really nice guitars. So he's like, why don't you come up to the office and we'll jam for a little bit. And we did a couple things for the veterans, right before, of course, this was before COVID and all that, when they were still doing, it was like a food drive or something for veterans that, you know, couldn't afford to buy food. So me and him would just get up there and play some music or whatever. And it was pretty fun, and he enjoyed doing it, but you know, he didn't know at that point if I was even going to be on the show. So it was cool of him to kind of notice that. And
well, I'm sure you became the star at the hospital once everybody started watching you on TV, and you know, we have a star amongst us. Yeah,
I know that boy.
yeah, and I still do, you know, every now and then, like we were kind of talking about earlier, you know, at the hospital, somebody be like, "Hey, are you that guy that was on American Idol?" And, it was a voice, but yeah, that's me.
yeah.
We were joking about that earlier.
We
Like
were.
we were trying to make sure that, you know, we kind of had all our facts straight. And
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many people say American Idol, but
yeah,
there.
No. Our old school ass was sitting here talking about Star Search.
Yeah. I told Derek not to worry about not having all the facts straight. Like, I'll be the dumb guy. Like, man, what are you on Star Search with Ed McMahon?
What was the country show like that
Nashville Star.
Yeah, Nashville Star. I always jokingly say I was on the Masked Singer.
Yeah. There's been a bunch of them shows, but obviously, I mean, American Idol and The Voice were the biggest two, no doubt. Yeah.
Well, you know, American Idol was the original one, I believe, but I think over the years, I don't know if it's their production or what it is, but it's kind of fallen off a little bit. American Idol has.
Yeah.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did change to ABC. I think.
Well, yeah, it seems like it completely shut down for a little while, and then somebody else maybe bought the rights and fired it back up again or something.
I think it did shut down for a year or maybe two, because I heard somebody they were interviewing the guy that won this year, and he said it's 24 seasons, 4 with ABC, and I don't remember who they were with before, but
Fox, I think Fox.
Yeah, I think so.
I remember it being hot though, and I remember Carrie Underwood and what's the very first one? That girl.
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson. Yeah.
Now she's hosting. She's a coach on The Voice.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. And
good.
And then
Big Ruben stuttered, man.
and Chris
Daughtry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now him and Carrie Underwood, I don't think they won, did they? Or no, Carrie Underwood may have won,
did.
but Daughtry didn't. Yeah.
He made a pretty solid career though.
Yeah. There was another fellow on there that I can't remember his name now, but I don't think he won. But then there's that other guy that's singing for Queen now, Adam.
Lambert, yeah.
The gay guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he got himself into a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now see, but the thing of it is, all them ones we're talking about were in the early years, and then it got to where just people wasn't watching it no more. And then The Voice kind of just took over, and everybody started watching The Voice.
I'm sorry for throwing you off there.
Yeah, me too.
You can go back to where you
we'll get on a rant
at the 4-week
correct
stuff with getting your wardrobe and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because we love those details.
Yeah. So after spending 3 weeks doing all that stuff, the last week is the blind auditions, and they don't tell you that what day you're going until the night before. Y'all meet up at the end of the night, and it might be 8 or 9 o'clock by the time they get done filming. And so they meet up, and you get in a big group, and they're like, all right, if we call your name, you're going tomorrow morning. And so it ended up being the last day for me. And, word gets around. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to say, who all got chair turns, how many teams are full, or how many spots are left, or nothing like that. But the group we were with, everybody was close. So everybody was texting behind the scenes, you know, such and such got Team John, such and such got team blah, 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 whatever. And so I went in knowing that, you know, it was getting late in the afternoon. And, you know, all these people had gone before me. I was like, I'm not gonna get an audition. I'm not gonna get an audition.
Uh-huh.
Finally they called my name. So I'm like, let's go. And by the time I get around there, I find out there's one spot on Team Blake and one spot on one spot Blake, one Kelly, and one Gwen. Team John had filled up already. So I was like, oh my gosh. But I only knew that Team John was full. I didn't know about the others. But obviously if I was auditioning, somebody had a spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the person that went 2 people after me filled the final spot. So I was right there at the end.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Now was your wife, was you just away from her that whole 4 weeks?
Yeah. The first 3 weeks, they were home and I was out there, and then they let you fly 2 people out. So I got a mom and a dad and a wife. I'm like, somebody's not getting a ticket. So what we decided to do, because my wife wanted her mom to go, the Voice paid for my parents' plane and hotel and all that. So my parents just paid half of, you know, her and her mom's hotel and airfare to go out there. So they kind of made it equal, you know. That way nobody was, you know, getting butthurt about, well, why did I get to go and why didn't, you know. So we made it work out, which that's never been a problem with us. We've always my parents are real chill, my wife's real chill too, so that made it easy for me. So it actually worked out better for my wife, because since my mom and dad were flown out by the Voice, they had to stay sequestered in their hotel 4 days, couldn't leave, or if they did leave, they could only go to certain places. So it actually worked out, because of my wife and her mom, they went on all these bus tours and to see all these celebrities' houses and see all these bars and restaurants they've seen on TV and stuff like that. So it really worked out for her.
So I guess your folks couldn't leave for like the confidentiality thing, but could your wife and her mother come in and get to see the stuff that was going on also, or they have to stay away?
They let them come in to film, but as far as like coming to the hotel, which my parents were at a hotel by LAX. We were at a hotel in Burbank. So we were 30, 40 away. So they didn't want any guests coming in in our hotel. They didn't want us leaving. You know, we had certain places we could go, but we had to check in and check out, and they had the same thing, you know. And so my parents were tired of being in that hotel by the time that it was all said and done.
I'm sure.
Huh. Plot thickens.
Yeah.
All right. So the end of the 4 weeks, you said there's one spot left with Team Blake, and who had another spot?
Gwen
I think Kelly and Gwen had a spot, and they might have had 2 spots. I don't know, but I know the last couple people behind me were the last 2 or 3 people to go, and then the teams were full. So it was yeah, I don't know. For some reason, you know, before I went on stage, I was just calm as I could be. You know, I don't know what it was. I guess the good Lord was just had his arms around me. You know, my heart rate was down, and I was confident, but I wasn't just like super nervous. I was a little nervous, but I was just like super calm, and it was, I don't know, I'll never forget it. You know, And what's really funny is when I was up on stage singing, you know, I get about to the chorus and Blake turns his chair. And like I see him turn his chair, but I don't like want to look at him. So because I still want to like concentrate on singing. And so I just kind of give him like a head nod, and then I'm just like looking at the crowd or whatever. Well, then Gwen turns her chair, you know, just shortly after. And it might have been completely just to mess with Blake, you know what I mean? Just to make good TV, you know, to be like, well, come to Team Gwen, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm better than Blake or whatever, you know. They love some Blake and Gwen.
Lovers quarrel on TV. Yeah.
But the most memorable thing was seeing Gwen Stefani when she turned around, man. I'm telling you, it's like tunnel vision. It was like a light coming down from heaven, just shining on her. And I'm not even like I'm not a big fan of her music or nothing like that, but just seeing somebody like that and the light and all the sparkle and everything like that. I was more starstruck seeing her turn around than when Blake actually turned around. And hell, I was
Blake turning around just looks like a dude, you know.
Yeah.
Just another guy.
And you think I would be more excited because I'm singing his song, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but when Gwen turned around, I just remember being taken back, like, wow, that's
Don't speak.
yeah. That's Gwen
Felt like you were
Stefani.
walking through the spider web.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She
Oh,
actually
boy.
looks like a superstar. You know, Blake just looks
Right.
like a regular old guy like us, but yeah, that's probably my most memorable thing about my performance was seeing Gwen turn around and being like, "Oh my God."
All right. So tell us how the production is and like, okay, so you're backstage and everything. And how is this whole, and before that, had you met them yet? Had you met Blake and all the talent
No,
there?
before
the
the
blind audition part.
Yeah, before the blind auditions, you don't meet anybody.
Okay. They don't want you. Okay. I got you. Okay.
So
I didn't know if that meaning just blind to, okay. I thought maybe just blind to the song. If maybe backstage, everything was kind of totally different, you know, from what we saw, you know.
no, I mean, up until that point, we had not even laid eyes on them. So that part is actually genuine, you know.
Oh boy.
The whole blind chair turn. I mean, it literally is their first time hearing us. So that part is actually really genuine. Now, I don't know. I mean, I don't know for sure that if producers are, you know, in their ear saying, "Hey, we need a chair turn on this one," I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could be a thing. I don't know. I feel like it might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because you got certain people that got the story, like we were talking about earlier, and some people that got the looks, and you know, and that's just all speculation. That's just my opinion. I don't know how true that is or not.
So backstage is just you and the other talent that is, and y'all just talking amongst each other, and maybe some of the producers and stuff back there with y'all.
Yeah. You got the catering company, you got the camera guys, you got the audio guys, you got some of the fans are even, you know, escorted to, you know, go to the restroom or whatever if they need to. It's really cool. It's just a big auditorium. It's just a huge auditorium, and they set the stage up in the middle, and then everything's kind of backstage. Like everything's black curtains behind, you know, the seats and behind the stage and all that. But backstage, it just looks like a warehouse with yellow tape everywhere and wires running everywhere, coffee, food laid out, and it looks like a movie set. I mean, it's pretty cool, you know. And I'm walking around in there like, yeah, I'm on The Voice, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm about to get up here and do this thing.
I'm an artist.
How many people are in the studio audience?
I would say probably 300 or 400.
Yeah.
It may not even be that many, but you know, there's a guy that gets out there and hypes them up real big right before everybody starts performing. And I don't know if I don't know if there's a light that comes on that tells them to clap and cheer real loud, or if they say, watch me, and if I stand up, you stand up and cheer. I don't know. But they definitely were like, every time Carson would walk out there, they just, start cheering. It was cool to watch, just how much of a production it really is,
But you didn't get hardly at that point. By that point, had you done any rehearsal walk time on that stage?
Yeah, they let us come out there one time before the actual audition to get used to the stage, to see how it's set up.
Yeah.
Which is actually really cool because they have this graded floor, and all the monitors are under that graded floor. So
I was just about to ask you, did you use in-ears or was it all, set for?
It was all, and that was part of the stage rehearsal. You could say, I need more vocals on the stage monitors so I can hear myself better, which it was always just, I never had any complaints. I was like, this is great.
So it sounded, you could hear yourself fine.
Yeah. And it was a little different, when the crowd was in there and cheering and stuff, but the adrenaline was pumping by then, so it kind of didn't really matter. But yeah, they let you get out there and do a little test run or two. Then that's when the choreographers are like, all right, you need to use more stage, or you need to walk slower or walk faster, or whatever you need to do.
You could have sure enough been rock star and walked out there when the crowd was, into it and everything. And it wasn't the same as it was when you sound checked and you could just, look straight over at the camera and go, hey, get over here and turn this up. I can't hear nothing. What kind of messed up crap is this?
Yeah.
Kind of half-assed.
That reminds me, I saw a video of Brad Paisley playing an acoustic set somewhere, and he's like, like, whoever that sound guy is about to lose his job.
Yeah, I know a guy that went to a Poison concert one time, and the Bret Michaels stopped the show, like literally stopped the show, and he goes, "Hey, sound guy, I don't know what they're paying you, dude, but you." He was like, literally just calling this guy out, like everybody, and then the whole crowd turns and is looking at the guy, whatever. He was like, you need to get this shit right, dude. Or we're not going to be able to perform. Like literally like stops the show concert. The crowd is just like looking back and forth at the sound booth and him,
There was nothing at all that guy could have done good for anybody in that building after that. It would, no matter how great it sounded, he was hated by all.
Oh, hated. Yeah, no doubt. Sorry. That just reminded me of that. But okay. So, all right. So when that happens and, you get on Team Blake, tell us how the ride went from there.
So as soon as I get off stage, they ship you to a little side room and you do all these interviews, and they want to interview your wife and your mom and your dad, and they want you to, they want them to be so excited for you. And my parents, like I said earlier, they're like super laid back. They don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be interviewed, which is funny because they did do an interview, but when it came down to airing, they didn't air any of their interview.
Really?
So I laugh with them about that because they were glad though. They're great people, don't get me wrong, but their interviewing skills they were nervous too. Which I had been doing it for a few weeks at that point. So I was kind of in the groove with it, but they were pretty nervous to do the interviewing and stuff. So after, all that, they put us in a van real quick, ship us to the hotel, and then they put us on a flight the next morning to come back home. So I'm coming back to Pearl, Mississippi at that time, knowing that I'm going to be on The Voice. Like I'm going to be on an episode of The Voice.
Did you get to talk to Blake after that though? In person at that point?
He didn't come back to the interviews. Sometimes he will, and sometimes they'll stage little stuff on the side. Like he gave one girl a pair of waders or something, which for me, he didn't didn't do anything, which after I sang and, before I chose Team Blake, he kind of did go on a little heart to heart spill about how big that song was for him and how it made his career or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So that was real special. But no, he didn't come backstage or anything right after. They, like I said, they just crammed us in a little minivan and took us to the hotel.
Wow.
Did you have any hesitation? How did that go when you got done performing? You had Blake turn around. I haven't seen that episode. So when he turned around, she turned around, how did that go with you discussing with them? And did you already know, yeah, I got to go pick Blake singing his song, or did you have to think on it a minute?
Oh, I knew the whole time that I would go with Blake, regardless of who else turned around.
Yeah.
So I knew the whole time that I would go with Blake. But Gwen was kind of, let's do this. Let's shock everybody. Let's come with me and I'll Google some country songs and we can. And then I was like, well, that wasn't a very good selling point.
That's very persuasive.
And for a split second, I was like, I could shock America and just choose Gwen while singing Blake's song. But I was like, nah. I said, I feel like Blake would help me in the long run more.
Kind of already got him on the hook.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think John had said something, but his team was already full. But a compliment from him, he was like, you got a real good tone, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I would have turned for you, but my team's full. So it was real cool to kind of hear them, compliment me as well. And Kelly kind of something along the lines of, well, you were a male singing country, so I didn't even turn my chair because I knew you'd go with Blake. So
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Which Jake Hoot, who actually ended up winning, chose Kelly. So I think he was a one chair turn. I think Kelly was the only one that turned for him. So I guess he kind of had to go with Kelly, but he ended up winning.
So, all right. So this was in, you come back in June or July?
That was at the end of June.
At the end of June, you came back, and I'm sure y'all had some kind of celebration at that point.
Yeah. I don't know if this is, well, let's just say we were expecting by the time I went back.
Ah, nice.
Well, I think I don't remember the timeline exactly, but I was home for a couple of weeks. I went back out for another week or two, but by the end of July, we knew that we were expecting. So I was like, yeah, that's what you get for being gone for too long.
Oh yeah.
But
and then, all right. So did they tell you how it was going to go from that point? Did you already know when you came back when you were going to go back? Or, I mean, they said, we'll be in touch, we'll let you know. How did all that go?
They kind of let us know how it was going to go down. We didn't know exactly because it was all dependent on, the coaches, they have their own schedules too. So some of us would go for 2 weeks. Some of us would go for 1 week. I think I ended up going 1 week. It was, I actually left the day before my birthday. And that's when we found out that Taylor was pregnant on the 15th of July. And lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Yeah, no, that's fine, man. Trying to figure out how they let you know about going back, and how did all that work out? How many people at this point were now on the show, and each one of the teams, how many people altogether is competing now at this point?
So there's 4 teams, and I think they picked 12 a team.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
48 left.
Yeah.
So top 48 is what we were saying at that point.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Gotcha.
but yeah,
And
they
how are you feeling too? And I'm sorry I'm about cutting you off, but just squeeze this in. How are you feeling at this point about your chances based off the talent that you knew was in that top 48?
I knew there were some people that if I so lucky to get paired up with, I knew that I stood a chance. But then there were some people I was like, if I get paired with them, I'm going home. Like, no question about it.
Uh-huh.
So I was confident. I was, like I said from the beginning, I was just happy to be there in the first place. So if I went home, cool. If I didn't, even better. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my outlook on it the whole time.
Because I mean, even up to this point in the game of what we're talking about right now is like, wow. You know what I
Of an
mean?
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, a million people are going to be watching, or so many million people are going to be watching the first episode. So I'm like, geez,
Yeah,
just
that's awesome.
that, knowing that I was going to be on at least one episode,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, great, this is awesome. At least so many million people are going to see me on TV. So
Yeah.
I was stoked to just have even made it that far. But then once I got the chair turn, I was like, well, I'm going to be on 2 episodes now. Maybe 10 million people will see me.
Uh-huh.
So, but it was all, I don't know. It's a big blur now, but
Yeah.
at the time I was just like, this is my life. I can't believe it.
So you go back at the end of July. Is that right?
I go back about the middle of July.
Is this when you
I go
start
back
working with Blake?
Yeah, and I don't remember. I went back for the way his schedule was and ours was. I went for a week. I left the middle of July, went for a week, came home for a week, went back for another week. And then that was the second round, the filming of the second round. And then when I made it through that round, I had to stay another 2 weeks. Or no, it might have been another week. No, I think it was 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. I was gone 8 weeks total, but it wasn't all at one time.
How cool was it working on Blake Shelton and meeting him and hanging out? How cool? Tell us how he was and all that.
He was really cool. And that's, believe it or not, that's the biggest question I get from people. They're like, is Blake Shelton really like that cool? Or is that just like an act? I'm like, no, he's really, because we're all in there about to take our group picture, our team picture. And we're waiting on Blake to walk in, and he walks in and we're all just like,
fanboying,
every single one of us. And even some of the, camera and producer people were clapping for him. And we're just in like this little, I mean, it wasn't little, but it was like a studio, the rehearsal room that you see on TV. And and he just walks in and he's just like, thank you. He's like kind of bowing, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like the proper
like Elvis Presley or something.
Yeah. And you could tell he was doing it just to be funny. And that's what was really cool.
Yeah.
That like the first time I say the first time I ever laid eyes on him, but the second time I'd laid eyes on him in a not filming type of scenario, I guess.
Who was it that was no, it was, and just you saying that kind of reminded me of what's the bass singer? J-Rod, maybe you remember his name, the bass singer for the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh man, I can't remember his dadgum name.
Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly.
White beard.
Yeah, no,
the other guy that the real deep voice. And what is his name?
I got a Nikon camera.
I really should know that.
A Sony color TV. Yeah.
Well, just hair before my time.
He also,
I know who you're talking about.
He was in Elvis's quartet that those last few years.
Richard Sturban.
Yeah, what was the name? So, but anyways, he talked about when he when they were auditioning for Elvis, they were like waiting for hours and like like when is he going to show up? And the band, they were all sitting there, whatever, and it was like I don't know, but yeah, don't worry about. They were like the band was like, don't worry about it. He does this sometimes, blah blah blah, whatever. Like it wasn't a big deal. And then all of a sudden, he like came in, and they were like, he said, man, by this point we were mad as hell. Like before he came in, they were done, got to the point they were fixing to leave. Like this is ridiculous. He was like, it was like half the day, and he said, we're mad as hell. And then all of a sudden, he came in, and they all started like fanboying, like, oh, Elvis, like, he's here. Yeah, I'm not mad anymore, kind of thing. And he did that same kind. He was walking around everybody. They said he was really, really humble and was like, I'm so, I'm sorry, Hoss, whatever. Yeah. I don't know what he said, but he was being very apologetic and was, being sorry and everything. And he's like, we fucking forgave him, just like that. Got to work and, did the little practice session, and then it was on. But yeah. So long story short, that the bass guy for the Oak Ridge Boys was also in Elvis's quartet before he joined the Oak Ridge Boys there at the late 70s. Yeah.
I did not know that.
But just you saying that, how that all went down.
Yeah.
He but now, Blake obviously probably wasn't late like that, but it's kind of funny, you come in and all of a sudden all the attention goes to the guy,
Yeah. Yep.
Did you actually do a lot of one-on-one work with him, or was it mostly with your team?
It was pretty much what you see on camera. It was about as much, one-on-one time as we got with them. I think before the second performance, we might have got 30 minutes with him, which it was him and Darius Rucker, by the way, because he had a guest coach or whatever it was, whatever they called it. I don't remember, mentor or whatever it was. And so it was him and Darius Rucker, and they were both really super cool and just joking around and off camera and stuff. Like the guy was over there messing with Blake's mic or whatever. He'd come and Blake was like pinching him on the butt or something like that, just messing with him. So I feel like they'd be super fun all the time to be hanging out with.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Excuse me.
That's kind of the way we felt, folks asking us about John Schneider, same way. Really cool, just hanging out with old Bo Duke,
Hey man, we're grilling hot dogs over here. Cool, Bill.
Yeah. Oh, so did you learn anything from him, or was it all just stuff for TV that didn't really give you any,
Most of it was pertaining to our performance, but they did kind of cue us to ask them, some kind of question, whatever question we wanted to ask them, just for like TV purposes or whatever. And basically Corey asked him, which was the guy I was paired up with in the battle rounds. And Corey asked him, if there was one piece of advice y'all could give us as, aspiring country singers, what would y'all say? And they both pretty much agreed that writing your own songs is kind of the way to go, because there's a million people out there that can sing, and they can sing better than us. But it's all about having that one song, or, to make you stand out from everybody else.
Yeah. No
and
doubt.
I don't even know if they aired that. And meeting a few people since then, nobody to that level, but they've all kind of had the same advice. So I felt like they were pretty genuine with that.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, because you're right. You already said it, millions of singers out there, and there's always some better singer than the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
So You know, if you can put a total package together with a song that suits what you do, that's really the only way you're going to be truly unique.
Yeah.
All right, so you go back, you go through all of this stuff with him, and you know, take us to where this thing, you know, gets to the so all right, so you did that time in mid-July, and then you came back home and then went back.
Yeah, I just did, and we might have been there for a week, maybe just to do wardrobe or something, you know. I don't know. There at this point, you know, there's 48 of us, so they're still kind of having to rotate us in and out to do vocal lessons and choreography and wardrobe and all that, and stage rehearsals, which it actually seemed like we were crunching more stuff in for this second audition than we did for the first one, which I guess because I'm singing with somebody else at this point. So we do have to kind of get our song down and all that. Which, by the way, the guy that I sang with was Corey Jackson from Jonesboro, Arkansas, which got to know him well. And we were roommates actually when we were competing against each other. So that actually worked out to our benefit because we could work on our parts, you know, in the room. We didn't have to, you know, go down in the lobby and be quiet about, you know, practicing our song or whatever. Because the whole time you're at the hotel, you're there for music camp or something, you know, whatever. You're not supposed to be able to tell people what you're there for. So when they see two or even more than two people sitting around playing guitar and singing, they're like, I wonder what's going on here. I mean, you're in LA basically, so you know.
We're gonna be on Star Search. Don't tell nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I came back for a week. I was home for another week. So this is working out in my favor, by the way, for my work, because I'm building up my vacation time as I use it, basically. So that the timing of it was just crazy. I mean, the way it all worked out, even up to the end, you know, I used my very last hour of leave. And then by the time that I started back work, like I didn't have any leave left. I had used all of it, just enough to get me where I got to. And then if I'd have gone any further, I would have probably had to either quit or take leave without pay and lose my insurance and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
the timing was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Kind of curious. I mean, I know you already said that they were picking up the tab for everything. And this isn't, you know, a really good question to be asking people, but
I guarantee I've already been asked.
Yeah. I was just, do they, and you don't have to say how much, but do they try to compensate you anything for your time that you're gone, that you're not working at all? Or you just kind of got to make do with?
They do give you per diem to cover food and stuff like that. Which most of the time it was enough. Sometimes, you know, if you went overboard a little bit, you might not have had enough, but for the most part, it was enough. But, you know, out in California, everything's $2 or $3 higher than it is down here. So
yeah,
like $14 for a single cheeseburger. Jesus.
Yeah.
Then, which another little fun fact, they wouldn't even if you were of age, you know, they wouldn't let you drink while you were there up until after the blind auditions. They would, for some reason. I don't know why it changed, but I don't know if it was something that changed in their policy at that time or if it was always like that, but they wouldn't let you drink, which, you know, some did, some didn't.
Some broke the rules.
Yeah. I think it was more of a liability type of thing. They didn't want, you know, voice contestants getting hammered by the pool and then drowning or either starting a fight or, you know,
or being hungover at audition or practice or whatever.
Keeping things professional, making sure that everybody was going to treat it professional.
Yeah. Yep. But
old drunk ass Zach down there again.
luckily, I never got in trouble. I mean, I bent the rules just a little bit, but for the most part, I stuck to it. But after 3 or 4 weeks of not drinking, and finally, it's like I got to have something. I mean, it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But well, and you start to learn, not necessarily how to get away with it, but just that it really more or less is to keep certain people, in check.
Sure. Yeah.
But or not certain people, but certain types of people, I guess.
Yeah.
At any time while you were hanging out with Blake Shelton, did you ever chew tobacco and spit?
No, I didn't. I should have. I wish we would have had more time to get to know him and like shoot the shit with him on, behind the scenes and like kind of really get to let our personalities show other than just trying to impress them by singing or
Right.
Yeah, like your guy's gonna take y'all out to eat or something, and you get to hang out for a couple hours or something, and just talk about things away from it or whatever. I'm sure it'd have been a lot more comfortable than doing the on TV stuff or whatever. It'd have been a lot more real and a lot more adding to it, because you've got some kind of personal attachment there.
Right. Which I feel like I feel like me and him would have connected a lot better, had we been able to hang out and just talk about normal stuff and not just music. And I feel like we have similar personalities and senses of humor.
Yeah. You like hunting? I like hunting too. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
He's got deer hooves tattooed all across his forearm.
You know what? I ain't never noticed that.
Yeah, he's got it's like a little, it goes around his forearm. You probably don't notice that it's deer hooves unless you look real close at it. It almost looks like a kind of a barbed wire type of thing.
Yeah, I've seen the tattoo that you're talking about just from, looking at him standing there, but I ain't really looked at it to see what it is. Yeah. Okay. So you come home again and you go back, and was that the last time that you go back?
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, this was my last time I went back, because after I performed the second round, I did Should Have Been a Cowboy with Corey Jackson, and Blake picked me to be the winner. So I stayed back at the hotel in Burbank, and we started preparing for the next round. And so that's when I found out that I was going to be paired with Ricky Brady, which is the guy that I faced in the third round. And by the way, the second round is where you sing a song together. It's called the battle rounds, I think is what they called it. You sing a song together, and then you kind of split parts, and then you sing harmonies if you can. If you can't, you don't. And then the third round is knockout. You sing your own song, but you're paired up against somebody else.
Yeah.
So the coach is judging your one song versus their one song. And so anyways, after that's when I found out I was paired up against Ricky Brady, which I'd heard him sing, and he has the range, he's got the runs, he can do it all.
Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's gonna be my last episode.
Yeah.
And which it kind of sucks because and it's my fault because I chose such an iconic song, The Dance. And that's one that you have to just about sing it just like he recorded it. He recorded it, or people are gonna be like, you just butchered that song.
Yeah.
So I feel like I stayed close to the record, and I feel like the song choice in general kind of screwed me over. I should have done something more upbeat, because Ricky gets up and sings this super upbeat, which he sang a John Legend song actually, super upbeat, like really shows off his low range and his high range and his runs and everything that he's got. I mean, he's just nailing it. And then I get out there and I sing Garth Brooks.
That was just kind of, and I remember watching that episode too, and I was thinking the same thing, just not the right song selection is the way I felt. You know,
did you get to actually pick that yourself? I'm sorry for walking over you.
Oh no, that's fine. They kind of get you to pick a selection of songs, and then they kind of narrow it down. I think for that particular round, it was like you picked 3 songs, and they picked one for you. And so that was one of the 3. So I mean, it kind of was my decision, but it ultimately was their decision. And if we want to backtrack to the first, they send you a list of about 700 or 800 songs, and they say pick 25 of them, and then we'll send you 3 or 4 to choose from. So, and actually, I'm gonna go back again because the song they gave me was a Chase Rice song. I had heard it on the radio, never had any desire to sing it or anything like that. So I emailed the guy and I was like, is this like set in stone, or like, can I change this, or can y'all pick something else for me? Because I'm just really not confident with this. I do not dig this song at all. And he was like, well, why don't you just sing Old Red then, since you sang that at one of the other auditions? Nobody's ever done that on the show. So I was like, okay, sounds good to me.
Nice.
Oh.
So then the second round, they were like, pick 20 songs, and then they ended up choosing. If you had certain songs with other artists, or the same songs as other artists, they would, I guess that's how they kind of decided who would sing against who. So, yeah, it's all.
When you reached that, you know, after the dance and everything, how did the end for you happen? Like after the show went off and everything, how did all of that go down?
As in like after it aired, or after the
after the actual show. It's after you got done singing that song, and then they told what they think and everything, and the show's over there. What happened then? Did you go talk to Blake at that point, or goodbyes and all that stuff? Or
actually, they make you go talk to a psychiatrist, which really, it was really strange to me. So that's actually, as soon as you get off stage, they send you up in this room with the psychiatrist, and they're like, blah, 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 this, you don't want to hurt yourself type of thing, or, or you don't want to hurt anybody on the show or anything like that. Just, I guess to make sure.
They've obviously had some people go crazy after.
Yeah. I was going to say, that sounds lame, but we probably couldn't imagine what they've had to deal with from people being so heartbroken. Some of these young
or
people, furious, or the emotions some of them people have had after finding out they're not the shit.
Well, most rules are in place for a reason, so I'm guessing they've had to deal with that before. So,
right. Or somebody could just be that devastated on themselves to do something drastic. You never know, man. I mean,
somebody quit their job and everything they had going for them in life to come do that. And
put all their eggs in that basket and then find out, man, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So what all did the psychiatrist say? Like, you don't want to hurt nobody here, or?
I don't think it was, that put that bluntly.
Uh-huh.
But I really don't remember, because she was like, well, I think you're okay, but
I was making sure he was stable at one point.
Yeah, I think she was like, so what is your outlook from here? What are you going to do from here? Or,
they killed everybody.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Where's Blake Shelton?
Where's Blake Shelton? This is an outrage.
Yeah. She didn't get real in depth with me. I think she could kind of tell that my outlook.
Reasonable person.
Yeah. I think she could tell my outlook was already kind of like I was just happy to be there in the first place. So,
Yeah.
um, but
What a journey, you know. Hey, I know blessings kind of thing. Like, I'm not going to, you know, I wouldn't, you know, man, I mean, just the fact of you know, like you said, millions of people was watching that stuff. Most people don't get something like that, but I can see where somebody who's young who don't really appreciate all of that probably
yeah,
think, oh my God, I thought I was the next, you know, Dolly Parton or something. Yeah.
and you would be surprised how many young people that go there never played in a bar, never sang karaoke. They've only sang in the mirror at home or to their mom or whatever.
Yeah.
How many people go thinking that they're about to be the next Harry Styles or Justin Bieber or whatever?
Yeah.
And some people get upset over it, which, you know, I witnessed firsthand, you know, a guy that was 17 or 18 and like I said, never, he played the guitar and stuff, posted videos on the internet. He never played a live show in his life. And I'm like, you got at that point, you know, I've been doing it for several years. I'm like, you got a lot of learning to do, and I don't even know everything, but you got a lot of stuff you need to do before you know, come back.
Man, those nights in those bars when there ain't hardly nobody there or somebody's there and tells you how bad you suck, all that's vital.
Oh
if you
yeah,
plan on making a career out of doing this, man, because
definitely.
you know, hearing from friends and family that you're great
Yeah.
is not that's detrimental
Well, then
until you
just
get the other
imagine,
side of that.
yeah, and then just imagine, you know, you just started posting videos on Instagram. Well, now all of a sudden you're about to go on The Voice, and
Yeah,
you haven't been posting videos on the internet for 6 months or
right.
a couple months, and your first big gig is on TV. You know, I mean, I could understand it, you know, kind of being misleading or overwhelming or whatever, but I can understand now that we're talking about that. I can kind of understand why they make you see a psychiatrist at the end of it and all that.
Sure,
Dang,
that
that is
makes sense.
wild. I did not know that. I've never heard anybody say anything about that. But I get it. I mean, you know, I do now. Yeah, now that we're talking about it.
I might need to borrow $5 million from y'all if they sue me.
Hey, you know, and how many people I'm sure have, you know, done interviews or podcasts and stuff, you know, and being on the show and all of that. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know, I'm sure this kind of thing happens all the time, you know.
Yeah, we actually read a bunch of vlogs or blogs or whatever they're called. I don't remember which one's which, but we read a lot of people that wrote their story out online and stuff. So I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. I think it's more about spoiling the show for people
Uh-huh.
before it airs.
My wife was following some girl that she had been following for a while. She had been seeing some of her videos singing or something. But anyway, she got on, and I don't even remember now which show it was, whether it was Voice American Idol one earlier this year. And every week she made the show, you know, got picked to like be on some episodes, got up there so far. Every week she'd like get on Facebook Live and tell, she would wait like after the show aired that night or something
Yeah.
and talk about what happened before that show leading up to that process. Like, and then she'd be like, well, that's all I can say this week. You know, I'll tell you more next week if I'm still there or whatever.
Oh, I bet she was getting some views too.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was just blowing up.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
you know,
I'm
that
sure I'm
she
not
was
even on-
doing it right after the show aired too. So
Yeah.
everybody was looking her up, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not even on the radar anymore, so we're probably good.
And you know what? Speaking of that, though, I do remember your views and everything. I remember going to Facebook, you know, after that, the actual show, and I remember your stuff on social media blowing up and people hitting you up on there like crazy. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was one thing they warned us about is like when you watch your episode live, turn your phone on airplane mode because if you don't, it's gonna drain your battery almost, like not necessarily instantly, but you're gonna get so many notifications and all this that your phone's gonna lose its battery very fast. So, and that was true. I kind of left mine off just so I could watch it for a minute, and then I'd put it on airplane mode. But just Facebook, Instagram, everything was blowing up, man.
Yeah.
I think I went from maybe 1,100 followers on Instagram to about, I think I'm at like 6,000 something now. And my Facebook is really what took off. I got like 11,000 on Facebook now, and before I think I was maybe sitting at 2,000.
Yeah.
So,
but I remember the comments on stuff, like if you just put up something, whatever, and it was just blowing up. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go look at the comments on YouTube, because some of them get a little out of hand.
Oh, dude. Yeah. You know all about it.
Yeah.
Anybody that's put their self out there, man, on a big scale, you're gonna get a lot of positive. You're gonna get some negative. It's gonna, it's just,
and it don't matter how good you are. Actually, the better you are, the more hate you're liable to get.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, my wife enjoyed getting on there and looking at all the comments and stuff like that. She really, particularly, there would be some, a gay guy or whatever would comment on there and be like, "Damn, daddy," or something like that.
Oh my God.
I hope my friends don't read that.
Well, I mean, you got to, like I said, where there's stuff like that that's obviously funny or, hate, whatever. If you look at it with a perspective of, knowing and not take all that stuff personal, you can find a little humor out of it if you're going to read them.
I've been on the internet for a while, so I kind of expected, the hate and the positivity. So
the trolls come out on the keyboards, buddy.
I'll look at that on Twitter. Somebody will put something and I'm like, with what they just wrote, people are going to attack the shit out of this. So I'll look at the comments and just laugh, at the crazy stuff people will put on there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And all right, so how was life at that point when how was life though when you came back before it aired? You said you were just telling the family and everything.
Yeah.
Was there family and friends that you told or something that maybe were
some people
any different?
Not necessarily treat me any different, but there's certain people that you just can't hide it from, because we were going to church every Sunday, me and my wife, and we sit next to my cousin, and then the preacher makes his rounds every morning, and I'm not there for 4 weeks, and my wife is there. And so they're like, "Where's Zach? Why is he not here?" And my wife's like, "I felt terrible for lying to the preacher and telling him you were at work." And then my cousins were there. "Where's Zach? Where's Zach? Where's Zach?" So we told them, and
he's in Los Angeles with Blake Shelton.
Yeah. They were pumped, but I was like, please, 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 just don't tell nobody, which they didn't. And we were also, we found out that my wife was pregnant in the middle of all this. So we were hiding two big secrets, actually.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, this might be a little TMI, but, my wife was going for her yearly visit to the doctor, the lady doctor, and we were just going to test right before I left just to make sure, and it was literally, she was maybe a day late or whatever. And so I was like, let's just do it just before I leave, just so I know. And sure enough, it was a positive, and she went to the doctor. Of course, I missed all the first couple of doctor's visits.
Yeah.
And all that. So I had to wait another couple of weeks to tell my parents, because I was in LA and not there to, be a part of it. So we wanted to wait till I was back, and which we still didn't announce it, publicly for a while, and it just so worked itself out to where, I couldn't use it as part of my story on the show because it was still too early. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
so we couldn't, and I've thought about it back, and I'm like, maybe if I'd have told them my wife was pregnant, they would have kept me on the show. Which I
You
don't
ain't
know.
gonna believe this. Since y'all got me on this show, we're expecting now.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
And they're probably like, well, you've been gone for 4 weeks, so how do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The plot thickens.
But yeah, it's so we were hiding 2 pretty big secrets, but finally they gave us a date that we could start advertising it and start saying, I auditioned, you can check my audition out such and such night, starting at whatever.
But you couldn't say I made it yet.
Yeah, no, I still couldn't tell anybody, even though I already knew I was only going 3 rounds.
Right.
Everybody else was like, I just wanted
along.
to get a chair turn. And I'm like, guess what? I go home in the 3rd round. So.
And all right. But how many people was left after that round? I'm not sure. I can't remember how many people were left competing after you left.
So it went from 48 to 32 to 24, I think. I want to say it was, I definitely made top. Got me second guessing now. I think I definitely made top 32. I'm thinking top 24. I think after I left, it was only 12, but I could be wrong. I can't remember. I know
How many was left in Blake's team?
I want to say 6. No, that's wrong. I want to say it was. All I know is the next round, if I would have made it one more round, it would have been the live voting. So like America would have been voting instead of the coaches picking. So I feel like if I could have made it one more round, because America loves country music. They always love male country singers. So I was like looking at it from that perspective. I'm like, if I make it one more round, I've got a good chance to, take it pretty far. Because country music voters are more prominent. And that's one of the reasons Adam Levine left. And that's what he said. He's like, I hate how America votes for country. And so I was thinking about that. And I was like, man, if I make it one more round, I got a shot at this.
Wah, Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He must have been burnt out by then anyways.
Probably.
So, I mean, you were starting to think I've got a shot. Like you said, I may have a shot at this thing. And starting to really start getting pumped up a little bit. And
yeah. Which, like I said, when I found out I was battling Ricky, I was like, yeah, I said, my days are numbered now. So, but I was like, if for some reason, I'm like, I'm a male country singer, I'm on Team Blake. Team Blake's got to choose me. I'm a male country singer. What do you mean? And, he ended up choosing the other guy. And so I pretty much.
Blake's choice was the other guy too.
Yeah. Now, if it was up to me, I mean, he blew me out of the water, no doubt. I mean, just being honest, so I was expecting to go home after that.
Yeah, I think if it would have been a different song choice, when I remember watching it, and I was thinking that, I was like, if it had been a different song choice, I think you could have been competitive there, even if it was still a slower country song. If it had been something, happier, major instead of.
Yeah, I still think about what song would I have done, but and another thing that a lot of people don't know is there's only certain songs you can do because. I think it's Universal runs the record label, Universal Music Group, basically controls the voice. I mean, so if there's a song that's maybe they don't have the license to or the contract to,
then
you can't do it.
I never thought about it from that perspective. Okay, wow.
Well, and that they're probably keeping it on there so they're the ones making the publishing from that show off the performances too.
because when you get to a certain point, they start recording the live performances and putting them on Spotify,
Right.
and then you get millions of streams on Spotify. So I mean, that's just money in
Going
their
right back into their pocket.
Yeah.
Oh man, wow, it's all a money making
A
racket.
lot of little ins and outs to that racket.
business.
Yeah, it's a big time business too. So folks are really patting their pocket. That's the reason they got that big old studio and, like you said, a big old place as big as your house to wardrobe and
Yeah.
hotel.
And I heard,
Let you
I
stay
don't
in
know,
hotels.
yeah, and I don't know how true it is, but supposedly they were paying Adam Levine and Blake Shelton like $9 million a season.
God almighty.
Just
Generating some serious cash, man. I mean, and who no the TV deals has got to be ungodly, you know,
Yeah.
for the network and
commercial slots and stuff.
advertising, all that stuff, you know.
You think they taught, like you was talking about, J. Rob, you think they toss the talent something, not just that per diem, but I mean, you know,
Well,
here, here's some money to
something
eat on, you know, but something for your time.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
They do.
especially if somebody's having to take off work, stuff like that. Hell, you still got to pay the bills back home, you
Yeah.
know.
They pay you per episode that you're on, but it's not. It ain't 4 weeks worth of pay for
Yeah.
for anybody who's got a decent living, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that bill would run up too if you're doing that for how many started, so
Yeah.
several hundred, you know. So
No, I mean, if I would have made it all the way through the end, I mean, I think the final episode aired in December, so I mean, that would have been basically 6 whole months without being
Right.
able to go to work. Once you get to the live shows, you're there. I mean, you don't go home. They didn't go home for Thanksgiving. They didn't go home for, well, I guess they did for Christmas because it aired before Christmas, but they were in Burbank for Thanksgiving because I still knew some of the people that were on there, and they were still filming.
So they were airing that stuff pretty quick after filming. It wasn't like taking months to come on.
The first 3 rounds, like I was on, was all pre-filmed, but the live shows, I mean, it's live.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, once you get to the live shows, this aired. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of buffer, you know, to
Right.
edit out bad words and stuff like that. But yeah, all that's live as it can be.
Got you.
Man, I've already learned a whole lot about all of that I had no clue. You know,
Yeah.
people watch it too. Okay, so you're watching it and live and everything. How
Mhm.
did your life change around here after that point of people seeing you in those episodes and all of that during those weeks? I'm sure things was just different for Zach Bridges around, you know, Jackson area, Mississippi.
Yeah, it kind of started before it aired because, you know, all the news stations were wanting to do interviews, and man, it was crazy. They had a publisher assigned to me, so anybody that wanted to interview, I'm like, talk to my publisher, or not publisher,
PR. Yeah.
PR basically, publicist.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just, I mean, it feels cool to say, so I'm gonna keep saying it, but
Yeah.
like, this is my publicist number.
Yeah.
Just call
Talk
her.
to my
You gotta-
publicist.
You got to line it up with her. And then the sad thing is, like, 96.3 wanted to do one. I was like, I could have been like, yeah, I'll be there at 7:30 in the morning. But they had to text him, or this publicist, she had to text me. I had to say yes. She had to text them back. You know, it's just a long, I mean, but
Well, it makes you look a whole lot bigger having somebody representing you, though.
It does.
yeah. And I
I'm
enjoy
sure you
it.
had a lot of respect coming in the door just because of that.
Yeah. I feel like it. But yeah, I started to, well, they started posting stuff in the newspaper and that kind of stuff, and a couple little things that leak out on you know, social media or whatever. And every now and then, you know, before it aired, it was mostly just family and friends, people that I've known or that knew me, you know. And then after the episode aired, no, I ain't saying I had a paparazzi following me around, but, you know, I'd go somewhere and, you know, people would be like, hey, can we get a picture? Or,
Really?
yeah. And I'm trying to think of one instance, but I mean, I'd just be eating somewhere, and somebody be like, "Hey, we saw you on The Voice. You did good. Can we get a picture?" So, yeah.
You still doing acoustic gigs around at that time when it was
Uh,
aired?
I think I was, but I was I was trying to be smart with it.
I was just, that was the next question was,
Yeah.
seeming like you could get, I mean, the payoff of, let's get him in this big festival and let's do this.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just playing around town doing, Zach Bridges acoustic everywhere or whatever, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
that big of a draw,
And I did do some small acoustic stuff, which was kind of to my own, I guess, just to boost my own ego, just to kind of see,
Uh-huh.
see
Oh,
what
I
happened.
bet you was packing those restaurants.
Yeah, I actually did a gig at Lost Pizza in Brandon, and man, I mean, there were so many people in there, and they all wanted to come up and get a picture. And
Oh yeah, and I'm sure at this point they're like focused on you, whereas before the show and everything, just like most acoustic deals, just like background noise,
Right.
and
You
you
can
hear
hear
all the
forks scraping plates
forks.
while you're.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people with acoustic shows I was doing. Like, man, you get done with a song, you just played your heart out on something, and ring out that last chord.
Is
Good
that
job, man.
steak tastes good out there, you bastard?
How's the food, y'all?
Thank y'all.
Must be good.
Yeah. I mean, there's some acoustic things I've seen that people get into a little bit, especially get to drinking and
Yeah,
stuff.
occasionally.
But yeah, I that's the common thread of a lot of them, and that you're not the focal point necessarily of attention, more background, for the
Yeah.
eating bunch and whatever. But
Yeah,
I'm sure you blew up. I mean, I'm sure at that point then it was not that kind of feeling. It was like, oh my gosh, the guy off TV,
yeah. Like I said, I was trying to kind of be smart about it and not so much play a bunch of free shows. I mean, but it was kind of like it's not in my heart to act like that. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. But then again, at the same time, if you want to really be something, I feel like I don't know.
You got to jump on that opportunity to an extent. I mean, I get what you're saying. You don't want to just gouge somebody because I was on TV last week, so you got to pay me X amount of dollars. But you need to jump on that train while it's rolling.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I continued playing those acoustic gigs, because I was like, I had talked to a guy from the season before, Guy Thrigdon. I don't know if y'all had heard of him or if y'all kept up with the show.
Remember that name.
But he made it pretty well on it. I think he was like Final Four the season before me. And I kind of talked to him a little bit, and he's like, man, he's like, just take advantage of the spotlight while you got it, because it's going to go away quick. Yeah, it was getting to a point where, I was trying to, obviously I was wanting to book bigger shows, but I knew if I was doing free acoustic shows, then I wasn't going to pull a crowd for ticket shows, So, and at that point, I didn't really just have a whole lot booked. I had a lot of private type of stuff booked, which, by the way, which we can get to in a little bit, about how bad the COVID timing was for me, as far as all that goes. But it got to the point where I was cheating myself out of, a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
But on the personal side of it, it was really cool because, all these people were just. I've been in the music scene for 6 or 7 years at this point, and all these people were coming up to me at shows and saying, "It's so cool to just see you, just right here in this bar, just sitting here playing music, and you were on TV just a month ago." I'm like, man,
it does that to people, man. I don't, it does it.
It's like, man, I was here. I was at this same place 6 or 7 years ago for my very first gig. And, you wouldn't, nobody even blinked an eye that I was in here. But
Right.
it does change like that.
Something a
It's
little
crazy.
off-putting about that in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you appreciate the newfound attention, but you're right. Like, you didn't give a crap who I was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
What's a big deal? Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
That goes to show you the power of TV and the power of major record labels and all that type stuff. If they
Publicity.
put the millions get put behind you, and you get put on those kinds of platforms, I mean,
Yeah. And social media.
we've all seen it. Even the people who ain't got no talent, they get put in those situations, whatever, and all of a sudden they're, can pack out a place, and
Yeah.
it's like, how did that dude get all the
Well, and
money?
it's not to discredit some of those people that's been successful like that, but that just goes to show you, they don't necessarily belong on that pedestal. They're just folks like us.
Yeah.
There's people that hadn't had those kind of opportunities that are just as good and better. They're still human too. Just because they're getting shoved down your throat on the radio every day doesn't make them
Yeah.
better than the next guy.
And one thing I love the whole Nashville scene. I love knowing who wrote songs, who's this and who's that. And it seems to me like a lot of these guys coming up, and even some older people, they had a tie in the music industry before they got their big deal.
Mm.
Like there's a guy, Dylan Scott, that's on the radio now. Well, his dad was a guitar player for I think it was Lefty Frizzell or somebody like that, like back in the day. So and then there was somebody else that I found out their dad was a songwriter for Rascal Flatts. I wrote a bunch of Rascal Flatts songs. So it's kind of like, you hate to think it, but it's like the only reason they're there probably is because their daddy or whoever, they knew that was in the business kind of got them. And Thomas Rhett, for example, his dad, Rhett Akins, he was a big country star in the 90s, and he's, a big superstar now, but you can't help, you kind of wonder if his dad wasn't Rhett Akins, if he would be Thomas Rhett now, if he would be where he's at. You know what I mean?
Well, it had to at least help get a foot in the door.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again,
because he's one of those guys that's like, he's not just a spectacular singer. I mean, he can carry a tune, yeah, and he's got an interesting tone to his voice, and he can write a good song, but there's 100 other people like that.
Right.
Well, and Michael Knox told me at the Wild Horse Saloon when we played there, he said, look, here's the deal. He said, you can have the greatest songs in the world. He said, but until, the major label picks you up and then puts you through all that artist development and everything, and the major money gets put behind you, nobody's going to care about your stuff, man. He said, there's people all over that have that are super talented, that have, awesome songs and all this kind of stuff. And they're everywhere around here, but until that happens, most people ain't going to care. And he's absolutely right. And that's not just from what I know, that's from a whole lot of people I've seen, in the business that put their heart, liver, and lungs into it, trying to do something, that were 10 times more talented than I ever was,
Yeah.
And so it really is. And I've said this before, it takes money to make money, but it takes big money to make big money.
Yeah. Well, kind of leading onto that point about, you're not anything, about the record label picking you up. Like a perfect example is, and not hating on any of the venues or the radio stations around here, but they do that thing at Pelican Cove with the Rock and the Res. These new artists that nobody knows, the only reason you know who they are is because they're signed a record deal and their one song is on the radio right now. And it's like they'll pack Pelican Cove out, from front to back, side to side, for somebody that they only know one song. But there's tons of locals, and not just me, but others that have albums, that go in there and play, and then there might be 40, 50 people show up. So
Yeah.
that was a good point. And I think he's right. You know, those people are coming just because that one girl was pulled, you know, was signed by the record label or whatever. And that's all they know about her. She's on the radio, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all a big machine, man. I mean, you basically said it already, but you know, once you put that much money behind somebody to put it on the radio, put it on TV and in front of that many people and just shove it down their throat to where people are forced to think, okay, well, this must be cool because this is who we're getting bombarded with, you know, and it ain't necessarily always justified talent wise but that's just the way the machine is.
Well, and they have to ensure that those amphitheaters and those arenas are going to be packed when those people come through those
to
markets.
Get a return on all that money.
Mm. Yeah. So it's getting played, and it's getting played in the drive times, and it's getting shoved down your throat every day, you know, and TV's doing its part and putting them out there in all kind of ways. And, you know, it's all about money.
Well, another proof to that too is some of these people we've even talked to, you know, that whether they played with really big bands or they were, you know, on CMT, you know, or whatever the case may have been, it looks like that's all glamorous and they're really up there doing it. But man, they eat ham sandwiches like the rest of us, starving to death being out there. You know, that's just a big facade, how it appears a lot of times. Unless you get to those Blake Shelton levels where they got that one song that, you know, they can't do any wrong anymore. But,
well, you know, that's what Jason Miller was talking about. Well, you know, we were talking to him, and he was talking about the journey there, and how hard it was when, and everybody, you know, here in Mississippi and in the places where they kind of knew them, they thought they'd made it. I mean, they had the video on TV and Guitar Slinger was rolling and all that stuff, but they was having to travel way off and not making hardly any money, and then trying to get back to Mississippi as quickly as it could to try to make some money where folks, you know, knew who there was. And, you know, so yeah, I mean, I could see that for a while. You're paying even dues on a record label after the time where people think you've actually made it. You're still trying to become a big enough force to be able to call your own shots, which could take, you know, if y'all remember Blake Shelton, even for, you know, many years when he had the long hair and everything, you know, whatever, when the record label was calling the shots and everything, you know, I'm pretty sure that was a tough road for maybe a decade, you know?
Yeah. And I've heard, I don't know if it's through social media or whatever, but a lot of these new artists are saying they don't really start making money until their second or third year, you know, of putting out music, because they start building a following and they start selling merchandise and ticket sales and that kind of thing. And they said they don't start making any money until, you know, the second or third year. So, I mean,
hey, that's a business anyways. Any business I've heard, you know, it's going to be 2 or 3 years. And that's the mentality I've always took, even, you know, with the band before. Now this one, is I'm going to put in a whole bunch of money, but I believe this is going to be an awesome return investment.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing.
I don't know if they do. I mean, and y'all might know or might not know, do they even do like a big signing bonus? Like, I know, you know, on The Voice, they discuss the contract with you as if you're going to win the show. But as soon as you're voted off, the contract's void. So, of course, I'm sure it was a little bit more built up for the label side, you know, as far as being on TV, more than as if it was a regular record deal. But I want to say they give you like a 150 or 200,000. I don't even remember what it was, you know, signing bonus or whatever. But
I mean, things like that's changed so much. Like years ago, it seems like, you know, from following bands and watching documentaries and stuff, they'd give you this big hunk of money up front, but it'd be in advance that you had to pay back once the album started selling. But that game's changed so much. Nobody buys albums and CDs or anything anymore. So, you know, I don't know. Like he said, when we talked to Jason Miller, I mean, they were running them to death on radio tours and stuff like that, and was getting some little piddly per diem. I mean, they wasn't even making enough money to pay the truck payment and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, but you were asking, like, make sure I get what you were asking. You were talking about like a record deal and how much would that be?
Yeah.
All of them are different. You know, there's the big deals where you may get, say, a record label says we're going to put, 50% of our company into this guy, right? You may get that big deal. Like, say, I'm sure with Broken Bow Records, Jason Aldean got the heavy percentage of, we're going to put our heavy percentage in this guy, and then the other 5 people we have on the label, there's going to get the other 50% mixed up. You see what I'm saying? So you want to get the big deal. You don't want to get the little percentages, the small percentages, because they're just going to almost like
kind of be
try
on the
some
shelf.
trial. They're going to trial and error type, like, we'll try this. If it don't work, then,
It's not
we
going to be a
might
heavy
try
push.
something else, or we may be done with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's fierce. Matter of fact, Garth Brooks went around to every label, and they say, got rejected, but there was also, I think he got offered some smaller things, and he held out until he got the major deal, because once you sign it, to the small one, you may not get the big one, or it may be years and years later.
Less enticing to the big deals anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll probably have to buy you out or something.
Correct. But then you've already been thrown out there into a little bit here and there, whatever. And remember, it's not necessarily the talent; it's what is your selling quality? And what if we put all this money, can we package this and sell it? That's the whole thing. Is this person marketable? So you got to have some talent. You got to have, maybe a look. You got to have the some things about you that's going to sell. Hey, if we put this guy on the road, is he going to put on show and all this stuff?
Yeah, taking that wrong deal. You only got that first chance, or one chance for a first impression. Take the wrong deal and get perceived a certain way, it might be a lot to overcome.
Yeah. But us as artists, we don't think about all that stuff. You know what I mean? We just want to make it, or whatever. That's what the whole thing is at first.
Yeah. They make it look glamorous with the music videos and the tour buses and all that stuff. But people don't realize that, I guess you probably don't get that until you're, the big dog, all that. We actually got the chance to open up before COVID for Hardy, which I'm sure y'all are familiar with him.
Yeah.
Mississippi, he's kind of breaking out right now. Well, we opened up for him, and one of his label mates was like the secondary opener, and we were like the acoustic opener, the third. We were the very first people, and then there was this guy, and then there was another guy. Well, Hardy has his bus, and I don't know if he's renting it or the label's renting it or whatever. And so it's cool to see that. Well, his label mate, who was opening the show up for him, who was after us, they all pull up in this white, I don't even look like an old white church van. And they were all riding one of them things, getting hotel rooms and stuff like that. But so it's like, just because you're a signed artist on it, just because you got a record deal, don't mean you've made it, because there's 7 people in that van right there hauling a trailer around, going from hotel to hotel.
That's it.
Signed artist.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
It's not as glamorous as it appears. Like you said, it's if you really want to do it, it's a certain lifestyle you got to be willing to live. And like we was talking about taking those raw deals, man. You work your ass off for a decade trying to do something, and some people are desperate and just take anything that's thrown at them. You got to be, watch stuff like that and be patient enough, I guess, and uh, confident enough in what you're doing to hold out to get something bigger, maybe.
Yeah. And that's one thing that's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to it, especially now having a 15-month-old baby girl at home. That lifestyle ain't all this, crack.
Hard to live, man, with kids and wife. It really is.
Yeah. And then I've heard, they tour 300 nights out of the week. I mean, maybe not 300, but even, heck, I'm used to being home every night. Maybe stay out of town one night every now and then, but I just, the more, since we've had her, the more I've kind of realized maybe the whole touring thing, full time, the big whole signed artist thing, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I've got it made right here in what I'm doing already. But which leads me to another point in songwriting. I feel like nowadays the songwriters are making the money, and they're sitting at home on their couch with their wives and kids every night.
Yes, sir.
And so that's one thing that's kind of, I mean, it's not all about the money, but that's kind of sparked my interest in writing a little more lately because, with these crappy deals and stuff like that people are getting nowadays, I feel like the songwriters are getting the long stick, you know what I mean? Or
There's more opportunity there if you could get hit that one good song that a big artist cuts and get hits off of, dude.
Okay.
They'll be beating your door down for more songs then.
Yeah.
Now, are you shopping? Are you shopping that stuff to some of the right folks?
Not right. So I co-wrote a song. It's one that I mentioned to you earlier. "Scared of a Little Love." It's one of my songs on Spotify. Well, we actually, before I released it and before the voice and all that, we got, I co-wrote it with Don Quinn and Trey Miller. And Don somehow got us a single song contract with a publisher in Nashville. And it's been a couple years now, and I don't even remember the name of the deal, but he had a lot of cuts from like Reba McEntire, Garth Brooks, and that kind of, a lot of people that were bigger in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool just for us to just to see his review of the song that we wrote. It was mostly pretty much, I think it was graded on 1, 2, or 3, and they were all pretty much 3s except for maybe 1 or 2 categories. And so I was like, well, maybe I can write a good song.
Yeah.
But so we had that, and I've been writing since then, but I don't know. I just feel like there's more for me in the songwriting, but you got to get it in the right hands to the right people, and that's the biggest thing, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look up Jonathan Singleton. You know him?
That name rings a bell.
He's friends with Matt Nolan. He's up there writing some hits and stuff, and he's
he
on Facebook.
Does he write for Luke Combs and Muscadine Bloodline and all that?
Probably so. That sounds right.
I want to say he's got a Luke Combs cut, if I'm not.
I think that's right.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Facebook. You can go in there and add him, whatever, and maybe tell him what you're doing and stuff, and that may be just what the doctor ordered, because your stuff is good.
Dude.
Yep. And Matt Nolan, you can tell him I sent you, and he can definitely link you up.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, personally, my issue right now is, I write. I've written a lot more lately, but I don't have the access to a studio, and I'm not trained on all these home softwares that you can make these badass demos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So another area that I could improve in is having some kind of way to make a decent demo. But as an artist, when I hear a decent demo, I'm like, heck, I should put that out for myself.
Yeah.
Man, look, as far as studio stuff, I mean, time obviously is something that none of us have a whole hell of a lot of. But
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at my studio, and I mean, it's not that expensive. If you've got time to watch some YouTube videos, it's not that hard. I mean, I'm not discrediting dudes that do really great jobs
Yeah.
in home studios that make fire recordings that I'm not nowhere capable of right now. But if you've got time to sit down and learn it, you could have it all sitting in that room where you're at right now, and you ain't got to go spend a dime with somebody else for cutting demos and stuff. What you're talking about,
Yeah. Yeah, time is the most valuable of all at this stage of my life.
And that little baby growing up is going to take up a lot of it too.
Yeah.
We all know about that.
Trying to hold that regular career down. And I mean, that's the thing. There's only so much time in a day. It really is, and just like Bill Marshall, you said you saw some of that. I don't know if you saw the part where he said this, but, he said people who really, really want to do this, they have to dedicate a lot of time to their instrument or to their, whatever it may be, or it's going, and then they're not going to be able to really do what they're wanting to do. The people who do are gonna do that. They're gonna put, but I think your priorities are right, and your priorities are in the right place. I mean, you've got a great career, and you're doing the right thing. And I think you got good stuff. And that's not me blowing smoke up your tail. That's me telling you the truth. The stuff I've seen you put out sounds real good, sounds real good quality, and sounds like good songs, So you just maybe need to get in with the right folks who you never know. Might be able to do something with some of that stuff, and get it in the right hands. It's all about a connection, man. Look, it's just like having a band that can't just call, or try to get in places. You got to have that booking agent that's got them connections to make it all happen.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, first of all, and then I wanted to kind of build on that. I got the opportunity to do a writers round in Nashville, shortly after being on The Voice and all that. And I got to do one with Barrett Baber, who was on The Voice. I think it was like season 5 or something. And he wrote, I think he won his season. I want to say he won his season. And so it's cool to see him there. And I got to talk to him a little bit. And he was kind of like, you just got to be here and make those connections, because an example he gave me was the song that he wrote is Nothing on You, Cody Johnson. He wrote that song with, it was just a bandmate of his at the time or something like that. And they wrote it several years ago. Well, that guy went on to be Cody Johnson's producer for his album. And then that's how that song got cut. And it was on the radio and everything, and it landed him a 6-figure publishing deal. So,
yeah,
wow, yeah,
kind of leading on building on the making connections thing. Like at this point, I'm trying to write with anybody who wants to write with me, because you never know where they're going to go in their career. They might go and they might be the guitar player, they might be the drummer for blah blah blah, and looking for songs. And I'm like, hey, I wrote this one. My buddy such and such wrote this one with me. Why don't we record that? You never know where one little bitty connection could end up down the road.
That's right.
So he kind of made that point to me and opened my eyes to that. I thought that was pretty cool.
And I want to go back. You said you were a baseball player and it was all about baseball and then the guitar came in the picture at 20 years old. So was it just, there was obviously musical influence coming from somewhere maybe during that time. It was just right now I'm baseballing. And then.
Yeah. I took piano lessons, when I was kindergarten, first grade. I'm not even sure at this point now how old I was, but I just remember taking 2 years of piano, and then I was like, piano, this is stupid. So I stopped taking piano, and I was learning to read music and everything, and learning to play, pretty good. And so I kind of just quit that. I was more into sports, more into baseball, and that was at a real early age. Well, I was in the junior high band. I played the trombone and stuff like that. So I always had music was in me. I always enjoyed playing music, and it's a challenge to me, which I enjoyed, a good challenge of learning something new. But when I got to high school, I chose baseball over the band or whatever. And so I fell in love with baseball, and I was playing baseball the whole time up until this, City League and All Stars and that kind of stuff. But once I got to high school, man, I really fell in love with it. I was pretty good, as a freshman, and I played some as a sophomore in high school. Well, then I went on to play in junior college, for a couple of years. And so after
what junior college did you get to?
I played 1 year at Hines and 1 year at Holmes.
Okay.
Which I got.
I played football at Scuba, East Mississippi.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember if we played them with Hines. I know I played them at some point, but I don't remember if it was Hines or Holmes. But they used to, what they would do in high school was they would protect players. Like junior colleges would protect players in their district. So I got protected out of high school, so I could only go to Hines.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you. That's right. That same thing back in my day. Yeah.
So I went to Hines. I played 4 innings, maybe had 4 at bats or something like that. And then at the end of the year, the coach was like, "Yeah, we're gonna let you go, but Holmes is looking for a catcher. If you interested, they got a scholarship available." Blah blah blah. So went and actually really enjoyed the hell out of playing at Holmes. That was the outside of high school, that was the most fun I had playing ball, which I almost quit because I think I just kind of let it get me down. That I got cut the first time, and then I just, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was away from everybody that I knew. I was just up there by myself, and I almost quit at one time, but I'm glad I didn't, because I ended up, really enjoying it and making some pretty good friends up there.
Yeah.
Now
you went to Pearl.
Yeah, Pearl High School.
And dude, now I was in high school when this happened, because I'm a lot older than you, but me and J Rob a lot older than you. But dude, when I think of Pearl High School, all I think about is Luke Woodham and that deal. And when I had Trademark, J Rob, did you play that show? I can't remember. Did you play that show?
Show with y'all.
Was that Pearl?
First show was at the Pearl High School gig.
Was it? Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay, so
the
2010.
Yeah, the tuner on that Les Paul is still bent from that show, because I got off the stage we built running around out there on the wireless, and the only pants I had worth wearing were too tight. And when I ran to jump back on the stage, I face planted and bent the tuner on the guitar. It's still on there right now.
And that was in that cafetorium where a lot of that went down. And all we were thinking about was how weird that it was being in there. And that went down in that cafetorium deal.
And we were actually playing for the seniors, wasn't it? It was like a senior.
Yeah. Thing. Some kind of, yeah. So
it was for
senior
like
night
school
or something
kids
or whatever. I'm sorry, man. I just that was something I remembered. Pearl High School just having that whole. I mean, that was Columbine before Columbine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in 3rd or 4th grade, but I remember the cop cars, because I was outside for something, PE or whatever, recess or something.
Really?
Whatever it was, I was outside for. It might have been might have been a field day or something, but I just remember hearing all the cop cars and stuff going by. And I had cousins that were a little bit older than me that were freshmen and sophomores at the high school that year. So it was, from what I remember, you know, it was pretty scary for us, but that was a long time ago. And I was just 7 years old, probably, or yeah, probably just 7 years old.
You know, old Brian up there in Oxford, J. Rob,
Brian Wood.
yeah, he was going to Parchment all the time, and he said that Luke
talked
Woodham
about
was
that.
there now,
Mhm.
and he's like really, really big guy, like huge, and then gained a whole bunch of weight, whatever. And he's like a preacher now, totally
Yeah.
different cat. Like he said, you know, and he said he would like pick him up because he went up there to like do services and stuff with him, you know, at the prison and everything. And he said like Luke Woodham be the first one when he sees him every time, and he picks him up off the ground, bear hugs him, and like he said that he'll talk about that day and stuff, and talk about like how he don't even remember a lot of it, and don't remember but didn't he kill his mom or something too before he came down there or something?
It was
Whatever it
mom
was.
or something like that.
Yeah, he said he don't remember. He don't remember that day like at all, kind of
Huh.
thing. Yeah, but said he's like, you know, obviously told a different cat, you know, and
I've heard he was trying to appeal or whatever, trying to get out on whatever.
yeah, he's been trying to get a pardon, like, you know, writing the letters, you know, to the governor and all that stuff. Yeah, but no, they all do that. You know, I don't think he would ever get out. You know,
I doubt it.
but no, man. I just every time I think about Pearl High School for some reason, I'm still in the old days. But I still, you know, I remember hearing about that. I remember being in school. We were like, say, we're in high school, and it was just like, what? Like, really? That really just went down? Because, like I said, that was before Columbine and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the first one, you know, in our lives.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So, all right. So yeah, you're 20. You're just wanting to pick it up, and was it what kind of influences were there musically that made you even go there?
So my second semester at Holmes, I had a buddy of mine that brought the guitar up there, and I had kind of learned like a G and a C or whatever, you know, just basic. I'd go in his room and play a little bit. Well, then, you know, I went home for Christmas break or whatever it was. I'd gone home for the weekend maybe. My dad had bought a guitar. Now, my dad taught me how to play by ear the keyboard. Now, if you ever met my dad, you would not even think that, just by looking at him, you would not say, oh, I bet he can play the piano. But he just gets on there and fiddles around, and he'll play. He used to play hymns. That's kind of how he taught me certain chords and what goes with what, and harmonies and stuff like that. And even, you know, just riding down the road, you know, to and from my grandparents' house when we were young, just listening to him kind of sing harmonies along to the radio and that kind of stuff. So I think that's where my ear for music and harmonies and all that kind of stuff blossomed. But back to the guitar playing, you know, my dad bought a guitar because he was going to teach himself how to play, because he had actually, he worked for a place for 15, 20 years and they shut down. So my sophomore year baseball playing, he was just not going to work, or he was working part-time just so he could come to the games and stuff like that to watch my last year of baseball. And he picked up the guitar in the meantime. Well, he bought this, and actually, hang on one second. He bought this guitar how to play. This is a classical acoustic guitar. Like, if you know anything about guitars, this guitar neck is like huge. Yeah. So this is the same exact guitar. I actually sold it and then bought it back from the people that I sold it to, just because it was such a keepsake thing for me. And he said, my fingers are too fat and too short. I can't play that guitar. So he said, just take it up there with you. And if you want to learn it, then that's fine. If not, I will just sell it or whatever. You can keep it, whatever you want to do with it. I'm not going to learn how to play it.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I don't know if I ever took it to homes when I was playing there, but when I got to USM, which is where I went after I wasn't playing ball or nothing, and I had a job up there, and I had to work, Christmas weekend or whatever, or it was a Black Friday, and I was there by myself, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna take that guitar up there and just try to learn how to play it. And I ended up learning a couple songs and record myself singing and that kind of thing. And I guess at some point I thought it was good, so I shared it to I shared it to social media, and it leads back to my point earlier where somebody's always going to say, oh yeah, that sounds good, post another one.
Well,
So
lit
yeah,
the
but thank
fire. It
goodness
lit
you
the
did.
fire. Yeah.
yeah, that's where it all started. And I just remember, I don't know if it was just the challenge of learning a new instrument that I just needed. Like, I feel like I always need something to keep me challenged. And to me, that was it. And like, once I chorded that one note and I played it and I was like, oh, that sounded good. It's like, I couldn't wait to learn the next note or the next chord or whatever. And then, once I started learning some chords, I started singing, and I was like, I'd listen to myself sing, and then I'd go on YouTube and say how to sing on key better. And so I'd watch a bunch of videos on that, or how to hit high notes when you sing or something, just random stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just ate me up, and that's what I've done ever since then. I don't remember a day since then that I hadn't at least picked up a guitar, strummed a little bit on it.
Nice.
Mm.
And all right. So when did that come along? Of all right, let's try to get a band together and all of that.
Yeah. So I was living in Hattiesburg, still going to USM. This is probably maybe 2 years after I initially picked it up. And my brother's frat buddy or frat brother, or whatever they call him, was hosting he was a bartender or something, and he was booking music for this bar. And he said, we'll do a country night if you want to come up there, because he knew I played country. And he was like, if you want to come up there and play for 2 hours, I'll give you $20 and a couple beers or something like that. I was like, all right, sounds good to me. So I did. And, I had my music stand with my binder with all my lyrics in it and all this. And, they kept inviting me back. So I was like, I guess either I'm pulling a crowd or I'm pretty good. I don't know. But I kept doing it. And, eventually I moved back home after I graduated and booked my first gig at McBee's. It was in 2012 at McBee's. I still see it come up on my memories sometimes on Facebook. And ever since then, it was so I was doing my acoustic solo stuff, and then Bradley Parker, me and him were kind of buddies, and we knew a bunch of the same people, and we were both kind of doing the same thing. We were playing acoustic shows, and we kind of come up with the idea, well, why don't we play some shows together, and that way when we play somewhere, everybody can just come, we'll draw a bigger crowd. Everybody will be at the same place or whatever. So we started doing that and ended up getting a guitar player and a cajon player. So it was an all acoustic band, which was one thing that was kind of unique about us. And me and Bradley harmonized together. And that was one thing that I felt like was, kind of our strong part, was harmonizing, which a lot of bands, some bands do, some bands don't. But I felt like that's what made us who we were. And plus being all acoustic with acoustic lead guitar and the cajon, I feel like that was kind of our niche,
Those harmonies will separate separate
yeah.
band from a lot of other ones when you get that nailed, dude, because it's difficult for one, but man, it
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. It really is. That's a big separator from the other bands right there.
Yeah.
And what is that you drinking?
It's a little cheap whiskey, ain't nothing to it. I've been
Something for you rheumatiz.
do what?
A little something for you rheumatiz.
Yeah. Shoot, if y'all really want to know, it's ancient age.
Nice.
It's about a $50 bottle. It's pretty good, but that's a whole nother podcast we'll get into.
A lot better than some of that rot gut stuff I used to drink.
Yeah, it's a pretty little bottle, but well, I don't remember what we were getting into.
So, all right, I'm trying to get to where it was. So that later became Chasing Dixie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was it kind of started as me. So the way it worked out was Eric, who's the guitar player for Chasing Dixie, Bradley, we all I was talking to Bradley about playing. Well, also, Eric had played with a guy for a long time, and now he had stopped playing. So Eric was looking for somebody to play with. So I was like, all right, well, let's all three get together. And then, so we did. And then, so that's kind of how it all formed. And then we were like, well, we got to come up with a name. So we came up with Chasing Dixie. And so that's kind of how that started.
And now you actually have 96.3 playing a couple of the songs.
Yeah, they're playing one song right now. I'm hoping to maybe get some more on there. I'll have to sweet talk somebody.
I mean, that's a major station. That's a freaking is that an iHeart station?
No, it's not iHeart. That's
Is it Cumulus?
103 is the iHeart station.
Okay.
But US 96.3 is a reporting station or whatever.
Yeah, it's a big dog. It's expensive to run an ad on it. I know that.
Yeah. So, but they started, doing this, supporting kind of your hometown kind of people. Which, Hardy, Jameson Rogers, some other kind of guys that have kind of made it on the radio. And then they're playing guys like me, and I think they're going to start playing some 40 Hayes soon. Nate, the DJ, the morning DJ, Nate West, he's got a song that they started playing too as well. So I think it's a new campaign thing maybe that they're trying to do, support more local music. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Sure. And you said that now that's On Your Mind that's playing on 96.3. And then Scared of a Little Love is your most popular on Spotify downloads.
Yeah. And that's also the one I was talking about earlier, that we had that publishing contract out of Nashville. I wish I could remember that guy's name, but it's not important. But I'm super proud of that, of what it's done. We're getting close to 300,000 streams on Spotify.
Nice. That's great. That is great.
Which has just blown me away. I can't. I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but I'm glad it did.
Yes, sir.
So,
and you're doing some recording right now as well on a 5-song EP.
Yeah, I'm in the process of. I'm kind of selecting and which songs I want to include. I've already got 2 recorded, but hopefully I'm hoping it's going to be before the end of this year, releasing a 5-song EP. So kind of in the process of choosing which songs I want to do and record for that.
Are you doing it just solo, or are you doing that with your band? They recording on there with you?
No, I'm kind of contracting it out. basically, there's a guy, he's in Nashville, named Brian Austin. He used to play guitar for Clint Black back in the day,
Oh wow.
back in the early 90s. So he started his own little home studio. I just kind of would send him an acoustic cover of it. You know, he'd get the tracks down. And we've got one really excited about. It's a lot different than some of the stuff I put before. It's called, the title of it is If Love Paid the Bills, but it's kind of like a chicken picking Vince Gill, like a One More Last Chance kind of chicken song. I mean, I'm excited to put that one out. It's a jam. But yeah, so another thing that's kind of holding me up on that process is I'm doing that Mississippi Songwriters competition, which is actually coming up this weekend. So if I win, you know, the winner gets to record a song in Muscle Shoals. But it's in some legendary studio. I'm not familiar with it.
Fame Studios.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. And so that's why it's kind of holding me up on my decision making on the songs, because the one that I've entered in, you know, I want to put it on the EP, but if it wins, you know, if I win this competition, then, you know, obviously I'll probably have to release it as a single, but which will be fine. It's probably one of my most requested original songs.
Nice.
well, it'd be a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can't use it for this project because I got to record it for that one. You know?
Yeah, that's a good problem. But so I'm hoping I can include it. I cannot include it on the EP.
Right.
That'd be the best scenario. But
Sure.
so yeah, I'm just in the process of doing that, and I was going to try to release it by July, but it's just not looking like it's going to happen because I still got 3 songs to go.
Yeah. It's a lot to get them recordings right, man, and making sure, you know,
Yeah.
and listening to it, fresh ears, you know.
Yeah.
I get it. It's got to be perfect. Yeah.
And then the way we're doing it, you know, he's up in Nashville and I'm here in Brandon, and you know, he sends it to me and I'm like, hey, didn't like this drum fill. Also didn't like this guitar riff.
Yeah.
I want to do this in the intro, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, and then he's got his own life that he's living too. So it's, you know,
It's not like you're just nudging him on the arm, like, man, play that again. Or, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of logistics things going on.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
But the good thing is all I have to do is go to the studio and record vocals, and then he does the rest.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, in the past, like we said earlier, time is our biggest factor right now. You know, in the past, I've had to go to the studio 6 or 7 times before we get the song right. You know what I mean? So This is really easier for me, even though it's taken a little bit more time.
And where can folks find you and find your music?
I'm more active on Facebook and Instagram. Now I do have a TikTok. I've been trying to make myself post more on there, which I'm, to be honest, I'm kind of going back through and just posting old videos just to keep my, you know, just to keep my presence, I guess, on that. I do have a website, ZachBridgesOfficial.com. And that's because somebody bought ZachBridgesMusic.com and wanted.
Oh, wow. Did they do that when you was blowing up, I assume?
It was right after The Voice, and I tried to buy ZachBridgesMusic.com. And the guy, I was able to message the guy that owns it. And apparently that's what he does.
Yeah,
He just
scoops them up to
Potential. Yeah.
like a scalper.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'll give you $40. I knew it was I knew it was going to be lowballing, but he was like, "How's 2,500?" I'm like, "Hell, no.
Wow.
I'll just think of something else."
No doubt.
But
And
like,
obviously, I'm sure ZachBridges.com was taken.
yeah, there's actually another artist named ZachBridges.com, or I think that was his website, anyways. But he does like meditation music. And
Oh, wow.
I've actually had to deal with some of his stuff coming up on my Spotify profile.
Huh.
Yeah. But
Well, you know, but we gotta say this, and I know you're still, I mean, young guy. I mean, you know, young in your career, but you've already experienced a lot of really cool things and a lot of really cool attention. But somebody that was wanting to get into this business or is already in this business and is really trying to make some noise to do something, what would be some advice that you would give that person, you know, to tell them to do or to tell them not to do, you know, from your experience, you know, things you've learned along the way?
yeah, without going into the business side of it, more on the craft or the skill side of it, like be obsessed with it. Which I was a young single guy when I was learning it, and that was the quickest way. I was like obsessed with learning the guitar, and so that's how I picked it up so fast. And I mean, and you never know. I mean, in the next 2 years, where you might be. And one thing about music too is you look at it where you're at now, and then you say, "Well, I may not be able to be able to play a gig for another year, or so I may not be good enough to play a gig for another year." Well, next thing you know, that year is going to be here, and you got more time than you think. Really,
Yeah.
I felt like I was like, "Well, I'm going to be out of college soon, and I'm not going to be able to play these bars no more. I'm not going to be able to do the ladies' night, and nobody's going to want to come watch me play." But I don't know. I think, yeah, you just got to be obsessed with it and realize that you probably got more time than you think. But also, on the other end, don't rush into it, and because I had that problem a time or two where I might have took a gig when I wasn't quite ready, and it ended up embarrassing me a little bit. So, but I don't know. I think just being passionate, with what you're doing is the best thing. Without getting into the business side of it.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
jumping out there too early and embarrassing yourself was the reason that you didn't necessarily need that psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, those can be blessings also.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's been a lot of shows that have taught me lessons, looking back. So
I keep having those shows, and it teaches the lessons I learn is that I need to go home and practice more.
Well, yeah, I know you're joking, but at the same time,
I mean, it's a real deal.
you never really do master anything in business. I'm not claiming to be the best at anything, the best singer or the best guitar player by any means. I don't play lead guitar at all, but I'm always learning something about my voice or about the guitar. You just never learn it all.
No, it's a constant quest for knowledge.
Yep.
When you're doing this, you like you said,
That's true.
if you've quit striving to get better, then you probably ain't. It's not what you need to be doing.
Yep. Exactly.
If you think you are the best, you've quit learning, you've gave up on learning, you've turned your back on it, and people are going to leave you in the dust. Those the most talented people I've ever seen is people who never quit learning, and they're not trying to sell to other folks that they know it all and, you know, are the coolest thing since biscuits and gravy. You know what I mean? They're actually listening and trying to get better and
That's what separates the amateurs from
professional. Yeah, that's right.
if you want to be professional.
If you talk to them, you know, about how good they are, you know, they're like, oh, it's just a little scale, blah 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 blah, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
That ain't nothing. That, you know, they all that, you know, they think that what they're doing is everybody else can do. You know, they don't think what they're doing is hard, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
mm-hmm.
They're not trying to do like Barney Fife, you know, trying to be like, well, now see now what you need to do is, you know,
Yeah.
they're not trying to sell you some BS.
Yeah.
You need to just go home and practice because
Pat
you
you on
ain't
the
even
head,
close to what I am right now. I'm just telling you that. But you know, dude, this has been good. This has been real good.
Sure has, man. It's been
I'm
great.
glad I'm glad you came on here.
I feel like I've rambled on a little bit, but
Oh
No,
no. No, we've
that was
had
the
a
whole
couple that
point.
did.
good.
Great story, man. Great story, and
Oh yeah.
you're a great guy, man. It's, like I said, a pleasure to get to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
super interesting.
Same to you. Now, do y'all? So you're playing in the Dukes of Country as well?
Yeah.
You know,
If you've seen any pictures, I'm actually the Hank guy. I'm
okay.
Josephus.
He looks
Okay.
totally different without all that on, man.
I saw your picture at rehearsal I think it was Sunday or whatever.
Like, who the hell is that guy?
And I was like,
did
I've
some
seen any of them before.
great. I love it.
Dude, he puts a wig on, he puts the hat, then he paints his beard, his mustache, and everything, puts the glasses on and all that stuff. And dude, all of a sudden looks like just like Hank Jr. from like the 80s and 90s, you know.
Yeah. I didn't recognize hardly anybody from the picture.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a plus for me with this gig, man. Is, you know, if you're gonna do it, go all out. Like,
Oh yeah.
if I can go play a show, leave the stage, get all that mess off my beard and stuff like that, and go back out and like be nobody like pays
Yeah.
me any attention, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. I love that because I saw Mustache Band one time, you know, out of character. And if you see those guys, I don't know if y'all know them or not, but if you see them,
That's great.
I swear, see them out of costume, it's like you would never think that those people on stage are the same people you're looking at right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what he looks just like. If you'll grab that doll right behind you there, he looks just like that version right there.
Oh, I hit the button.
I see it right there.
Do you play lead guitar or bass?
Yeah, he plays guitar. Guitar.
I've been playing since I was around 14 years old.
Dang.
And that kind of like that story you were talking about, you know, when I was getting out of high school and stuff like that, I knew basketball or football wasn't going to be in my future anymore. So music was my passion from then on.
Yeah. See, I was already, you know, 3 or 4 years through a major in college before I really, you know, picked up the guitar. So I kind of felt like I had to finish what I was doing. Now, had I picked the guitar when I was 17 or 18, ain't no telling what I would have done, you know. I don't know. You know,
Oh yeah, that would have probably, if I hadn't have been already playing, there's a Lord, who knows what kind of path I'd went down. I don't know. I try not to think about it. I try to look at things. I'm where I need to be. So
Yep.
I'm thankful and grateful for all the good and bad decisions.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to throw in on this deal before we
Uh,
that you
man,
can think of?
not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure when I listen back to it, I'll say, I should have said
There
this.
was my opportunity.
Yeah. But no, I don't.
That's what everybody has said.
Yeah.
They'll text me the next day and be like, man, last night I thought about it after we got done. We should have talked about this. Yeah.
So I don't get to talk about music and just related stuff, so it was good to just talk about everything from here to there,
Heck yeah.
so
Let me say it said before, it's therapeutic for everybody involved, man.
Yeah.
You get a chance to tell something that you don't get to just tell people in everyday life. We get to learn about it, and it's always fun. It's great for us.
Absolutely.
well, y'all hit me up on the next time around and we'll do it again.
Sure will, man. Good
And
luck with the songwriting competition this weekend too, brother.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good luck. And I'll, it may be, I don't know, maybe a week or two, but I'll shoot it to you, and you can get it out on your social media too. And
Okay,
we'll share it with everybody, but I'll get it edited and everything,
that'll work.
All right, brother. Well, have a good night, man. And thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother.
Y'all
Later
have
on.
Appreciate it.
See y'all.